Hey everyone, I'm back again with a new update and review of the Even Realities G1 smart glasses. So, a lot of you have been asking me a lot of questions on my other review, and I've taken the time to kind of go ahead and answer each and every one of you. I've tried each feature, and I feel like I have enough confidence to kind of speak with my experience and hopefully can kind of help with you guys in making a decision too. So, I am using the teleprompter feature again, but it's already scrolled up too much. But I just realized, hold on. I just realized you can actually scroll manually. So if it goes too far, you could just jump back up to where you just were. That's awesome. I just discovered that right now. So cool. Anyways, let's just get started. There are some things that I want to preface with this video. I'm going to start with some things that I feel like are random things that I've experienced while using these glasses. And these aren't particularly with each feature, they may be, but I wanted to kind of go over it nonetheless. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is okay, this is scrolling too much. There we go. So the nose pads have to be adjusted properly when you first get them. This is something I didn't really take into consideration when I first bought these or when I first received them and started wearing them. It felt fine at first. I didn't really adjust them because I thought it felt okay. The thing is though, these are heavy glasses. They're probably going to be the heaviest glasses you may have ever worn. That's not a horrible thing though, because as long as you adjust the nose pads, it's going to be okay. Otherwise, if they're too high up on your nose, then it can actually create or cause red marks that are very uncomfortable. And I've actually had to take these off from time to time because they weren't adjusted okay. Once I made these wider so that they sit lower down on my nose, I haven't had this issue. I wear these as my daily glasses every single day, and they're not a problem. So just keep that in mind. That's one thing that I haven't seen anyone else mention. So going into the next thing, I haven't really experienced a huge issue with this, but a lot of people talk about that having to have the app running in the background all the time. You know, it's one of those things that you can kind of understand it from a development perspective because you want the processing power to be done on the phone. You know, with as little heavy work done with the glasses themselves. The problem is though, with a lot of people, their phones may not always keep the app open, and so that can cause problems with disconnecting and whatnot. I don't know exactly what they could to solve this, but I just wanted to bring this up in case you may be considering this. You may have an older phone and you know your phone can't handle a whole lot of capacity at once. That's something that you might need to consider. If you can't always keep this app open in the background, then there might be issues later down the line. Okay. Next thing. Okay, so this is with the head-up settings. So when I first got these glasses, I was very excited, to say the least. And the thing about these is during the setup process, it has you essentially set a comfortable height or a comfortable angle for you to turn on the display. So like if you're looking up, you know, you just want a comfortable angle when you're looking up. The problem was though, is that I set my angle to be too low so that even if I just looked up slightly, the display would turn on, and it was so annoying. This can actually be solved though, and Even Realities just came out with an update to their app where you can set the exact degree of the angle in which you want it to turn on the display, which I honestly didn't expect it from them. It was a bit overkill, but if anything, I love it because it completely leaves you to control everything down to the smallest angle in which you can, raise the display or raise your glasses and turn on the display. I think that's awesome. So one other thing I wanted to talk about, maybe particular to my experience, but I've noticed some dead pixels in the screen already. It's not very noticeable, and frankly, you really have to be looking for it. But in the lines, like I'll show you right now, in the line of the head-up display, there are small, you may not even be able to see it in the video, but there are small gaps that are about the size of a pixel that just don't ever turn on. So I am assuming that it's a dead pixel. There's a couple of these throughout the screen. It doesn't get in the way of reading. If anything, I don't notice it when there's text on the screen, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. That is something that I experienced. Okay, next thing, and I promise I will get into the features, but these are just some notes that I've kind of gradually gotten over time just from general use. There's something with duplicate notifications that basically everyone has experienced using these glasses. I believe they're coming out with a solution, but it's an annoyance. I don't experience duplicate notifications with really most things, but persistent notifications, and especially reminders. With Google Keep, if I have a reminder that I just haven't swiped out of my phone yet, and that I haven't, that I still have yet to do, that I haven't gotten rid of, then it's ridiculous. It'll actually send like 10 notifications in the matter of like 5 seconds through the glasses, and it is absurdly annoying. So I just had to straight up turn off notifications through Keep. I will keep on the lookout for any update on that if they decide to do that, or decide to fix it, I mean. Still on the topic of notifications, they don't specify the time in hours. They only break it down in minutes. So you won't be able to completely do the math in your head, especially if it's like over 1,000 minutes ago. It's just really confusing. I don't know why they did this. I feel like this could be very easily fixed in an update, and they just, I don't know. I think it's an oversight. I think they need to fix it because it looks tacky, in my opinion. It just looks tacky. So, next thing, and this is a very big one. This is actually probably the biggest complaint that I have with these glasses. The displays are not synchronized. And what I mean by that is that each display is kind of its own mind. Kind of like how, I suppose a good analogy would be, we have two separate sides of our brain, right? The left and the right, and they kind of synergize into one. That's kind of how these glasses work. Now, for better or for worse, I think it's fine, but there are some major flaws with this. Now, I would argue the biggest thing would be if you are kind of laying on your side or not at a perfect head-up angle like I am right now, you're gonna notice that sometimes one display turns on and the other stays off. Even for a split second, it'll just turn on and then turn right back off again, and it is super, super, super annoying. And actually, this will happen even in regular everyday use. Like if I'm sitting here, there was one day, I think it was 2 days ago, where every time I looked up, every single time, the right display would turn on, and then a half second later, the left display would turn on. And it was the most infuriating thing ever. I just could not believe it. It was really, really annoying. And I tried restarting these. I couldn't figure out how to restart them, but it was quite annoying. Although I will say, ever since that day, it kind of fixed itself. I haven't really experienced it, so maybe that was just a one-off experience. I really hope it was. Okay, so that was all of the little things that I wanted to cover. So that's pretty much it for the little notes or gripes I have with these glasses. Now let's get into the features, and I'm going to start off with Quick Note. So I found a couple different uses for Quick Note, and the best one by far I have figured out is to use it for if you have a lot of meetings during your day. I just put every single meeting during my day at work, and I have the time for each meeting, and it's just a great reminder to look up and see exactly, what the meeting's schedule is. And honestly, I think that will be my main use for Quick Note. Now I will have to go into the phone and type it in and whatnot, because it just can't, I don't trust it with my voice, and it's just easier to organize that way through the phone, but I don't mind. It's also really great for reminders. So I know I mentioned earlier that, the phone reminders like Google Keep, they're really annoying, so I had to turn it off. I've kind of switched to, if I really want to have a persistent reminder throughout a day or a long period of time, I'll just keep it on my heads-up display. Because every time I look up, every time I check the time, I see that reminder every single time, like take the trash out or something like that, that has really elevated this experience with these smart glasses that I can't say another product can really, replicate. So that's something that I've really enjoyed using. Oh yeah, so one little thing I just wanted to say is that the smart titles associated with the contents of the note are really cool. So if you have a Quick Note that you use by holding down the touchpad, then it'll automatically generate a title with AI, and it's pretty spot on. It's very simple and it's a straightforward feature, but it is so cool. I don't know. I can't help but admire the little things like that. Also, the voice recognition for what you're saying during a note is extremely accurate. It is so impressive. And even if you're saying a word that you don't think it'll really catch, it'll catch it. And even if you're saying like a really uncommon name, then it'll still be able to pick it up really, really well. And it's something that I found is, just cool every time I use it. Another thing for Quick Notes that I think is really awesome is you can actually listen to the audio that was recorded of you speaking your note into the glasses. So if it didn't fully pick up everything that you said into text, then you can just go into the recording and listen back to what you said, which genius. So that's about it for Quick Note. I think it's a great feature, and I highly recommend anyone who's using these glasses. Is my microphone like sinking lower? Is that just me? I think that might just been me, but I highly recommend using it. I think it's a great feature, and need I say more? Okay, so Translate. That's the next feature I'm going to be talking about. It's hit or miss. I really, really wanted to see how this was going to be. I didn't have super high expectations for Translate. So let me just say it this way. It is very impressive. It is super accurate, and the live translation of it structuring the sentence in front of your eyes is so cool. I think I'm such a nerd for that stuff, and seeing it in action I love it. The only caveat is that it's very slow, and because it's slow, it's delayed. So if anyone's talking in real time, your translation is going to be about 2 or 3 seconds behind what they're actually saying. Now, you might not think this is a big deal, but if they're talking pretty fast, even at the pace that I'm talking right now, it'll actually likely get behind, and it will, I guess, not be able to catch up. And because of that, it just will have a hard time trying to get back in place of where it left off and how to pick. It doesn't know where to pick back up again. So at that certain point where it stops, catching on, it will just translate one word or two words at a time and then just not really do a good job at that. So unfortunately, it's not something that I can say that I have full confidence in when I use it. And that's the only feature that in this classes that I can really say that about. If they can make it quicker, that is the only thing that will make this an S tier feature. I seriously believe that. So there's a little bit of a confusion I've noticed, especially on Reddit, of what the difference is between the basic and the pro translate are. Let me just be as cut and dry as possible. They are almost the same thing. You do not have to pay for pro translate to get a good translation experience. The main difference is speed. The pro translate is going to be a little bit quicker and maybe a little bit more accurate. So, don't feel bad about not paying for pro translate, because honestly, basic is just fine. So don't worry about it. I would say you're not going to notice it in day-to-day life. And actually, I did want to explain the differences behind the scenes of how they work, because they actually explained it. So basic translate happens locally on your phone, and then the translation where the text compiles and everything, that's all on your phone. So it might be a little bit slower. And then once, the compilation happens of the text, it sends it off to their cloud API, and then you get the response to your glasses of the translated text. The Pro, it all happens in the cloud API. So nothing happens locally in your phone, which means it's going to be quicker using the API. And it's going to be more accurate because everything happens there. That's literally that's fundamentally the difference between the two. So nothing else is different. Okay. A couple more things with Translate. Unlimited Pro did actually end up unlocking for me as a pre-order, person. Since I pre-ordered, they, were supposed to give me Pro Translate for free, unlimited usage, and for the first 2 weeks of having them, as of yesterday, up until yesterday, I should say, I did not get Pro Translate, and I had to essentially contact support and say, hey, I don't have it. I was a pre-order subscriber, or not subscriber, but I had a pre-order, and where is it? So they took about a week to respond to that question. But essentially, after they did, they just said, hey, we fixed it. It should work in your app now. And it did. So they did fix it. So I applaud for them for that. And, not just leaving me in the dark for a long time. They actually did fix the issue. So on to navigation. This is actually one of my favorite features of these glasses. And at the time of my last video, if you didn't see that, totally fine. But I didn't really get a whole lot of use case with the navigation. So I didn't really have a whole lot to say about it. But I went into the city and a few times since then, and it is perfect for city walking and navigating. Like, let's say, for example, you park a few blocks away from a restaurant or an event you're trying to go to. You just turn on the navigation and it is perfect. I mean, I can't say much more that I would want out of this feature. Now, being able to look up and just see your whole route is really cool too. So if you're looking straight, it'll tell you word by word directions, and then also kind of a little map to your right. Excuse me. And then if you look up, you get to see the whole map of point A to point B. It's awesome. Now, I will say there is one downside to navigation, and it's really, it's not a big deal. Honestly, it is not really much of a downside considering it does fix itself. But when you first put in your navigation from, like where you want to go and whatnot, it'll just navigate this crazy route that it just looks like this weird squiggle. And it's really strange because you're just like, what is going on here? And then once you actually start it, it fixes itself and it just does like the shortest possible route. So I don't really know what that is about, but that is something that I have noticed with my uses. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. So one thing I will mention too, a lot of people have been asking about navigation while driving, and I'll just say this right now. It does not work great with driving. I've tried it. I really wouldn't recommend it, seriously. Especially if it's sunny, because you just can't see it during the day, and it can just kind of be distracting, to be honest, because it's right kind of in your field of view, and I don't know, I just would consider it a distraction on the road, and I can see why they didn't essentially make navigation for the road, and they don't have any plans to. So a lot of people asking about that. Just wanted to say my opinion on it. So one bug that I wanted to mention, well, this actually only happened one time, so I can't say that this is still an issue, but the first time that I tried using navigation, it showed the loading screen saying like your route is being loaded or something in one eye, and then it loaded in the other eye. I think I mentioned this in my last review, but I just thought I'd throw it out there since it's under the topic of navigation. It's one of those things where the lenses are disjointed and they're not fully connected, and just something that I've experienced, but only one time. That's about it for navigation. So let's talk about even AI. Now, they are very impressive with the AI. I think it is one of the best AI experiences I've had with just general random questions. Now, it's not conversational, and that is the biggest gripe I have with this, is that if you ask it a question, you can't exactly continue with a follow-up to its answer. Now, other than that, it is really, really nice. I'd argue it's the perfect assistant for, quick questions that you can think of in the car or just late at night, and it's very accurate and informative. So I was actually asked by someone on Reddit to prompt it to create a Halloween story, and it was very good while not being like obviously AI. I feel like that it felt like a real story, that it wasn't just this, I don't know, there's something about AI, especially with ChatGPT, that you just read it and you're just kind of like, oh, this is just obviously AI. This doesn't have that. And so because of that, it's just been my go-to over Google Assistant, and really just anything where I can just ask a quick question where I just think, oh, I wonder, like something. Oh yeah, one other thing too. This is another downside that I would say, well, maybe not a downside, but more of something that I would like to see an improvement on with the AI. Now, the ability to open features within the glasses hands-free. Well, I guess not hands-free because you're actually touching the touchpad, but just being able to say like open translate and just having it pop up translate, that would be so cool. I think that would be perfect, because then you're not fiddling around with buttons or whatever, and you're not going onto your phone to open a feature. If you just say open translate or something, or open route navigation, I think that would be so cool. So yeah, that's about it for the AI though, I would say. If you have any questions though about the AI, I can happily answer your questions in the comments. Now on to Teleprompter. I'm obviously using it right now. I think I mentioned that earlier. It's very fast, accurate, and reliable, and I will always, probably almost always, recommend you use it with the AI functionality, because then it'll scroll along with what you're saying, as opposed to having to, tap or have an automatic scroll where you got to keep up with it. So having the AI scroll is really, really nice because you can skip ahead in the prompt. You're able to go off script. I've been going off script almost this entire time, and it's been able to keep up relatively well. I mean, you're seeing me press the buttons just to make sure I cover all my bases, but it's been doing a really good job overall. So yeah, it's easily one of the smartest implementations of these glasses, I would argue, especially considering the limitations of these, with it just being straight text and very minimal display size. And I am very grateful with how polished and impressive the AI scroll is, along with just really any of the other features. It's really, really good, especially with the word recognition. Now, I mentioned this with Quick Note. The same thing occurs with the auto scroll. The word recognition is spot on. It is so good. So yeah, that's really about it for each of the features that I wanted to cover on. And yeah, that's about it for my review. If you guys have any questions about what you guys wanted to see in the future and what you would want me to talk about next, please let me know. I'm willing to make more videos about this. I've really been enjoying it, and my last video kind of blew up in a sense, just for my kind of standard of a video that I've made. I think it's the most popular YouTube video that I've ever created. It's already at, I think, 3,500 views, which in the grand scheme of things, not a lot, but I think a lot of people are really interested in these glasses, and rightfully so. These are some of the coolest pieces of tech that I have ever experienced, and to have one of these pairs of glasses and use it firsthand with just my day-to-day life, it is so cool. And if you're on the fence with these, I was on the fence with these actually for a while, but I just decided to bite the bullet and get them, and I couldn't be happier with these. These are seriously the coolest. I think this is the coolest piece of tech that I own. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you sticking around for this long, and yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you later.